Second son, third child. Was the best athlete of the group.
Yeah.
Okay.
Six.
All right. Good evening.
You know, good-looking kid.
I'm going to call the Plan Commission meeting to order on Tuesday, December 3rd, 2019 at 6 o'clock p.m. Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Commissioner Groff? Here. Commissioner Oliver?
Here.
Alderman Kubaki? Here. Mayor Shiverati?
Here.
Commissioner Jocks?
Here.
Commissioner Buckmaster?
Here.
Commissioner Bartlett?
Here.
Planner Tresbutelski?
Here.
And statement of public notice.
The agenda was posted and distributed to all news media requesting notification in accordance with the open meeting laws on Wednesday, November 27th.
Thank you. And then approval of the minutes of November 5th, 2019.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion on those minutes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are approved. Tonight we have a public hearing. And so anyone who wishes to speak when we get to that, the public hearing, you can just, if you can just sign in, right? A sign-in sheet. It's just to sign your name and address over there. Anyone who wishes to speak tonight on other agenda items later need to fill out a form that's on the table there and submit it. So with that, I will turn this over, should I read that hearing? Yes.
Yeah.
Public hearing is for Bill and Jennifer Balcerzak, requesting a conditional use grant for the purpose of allowing a residence on the same property as a business within a commercial zoning district. And Adam, you want to update us?
Sure. So this is a property that's has sat as it currently still sits for many, many years. The property always had a house as the front building on the property, as well as some outbuildings in the back. So this property was always used as a home and a business. MW Marine, as you may remember, was going to build a boat dealership here at one time, which they decided not to do that, and they ended up reselling the property. Well, because of that, the property sat vacant. The home sat vacant for more than a year. Because of the commercial zoning that's here, that house was kind of a grandfathered use, and when it sat vacant for a year per the zoning code, they lost the right of that grandfathering to use it still as a home. Since that time, the new owners who bought it from the boat dealership did a bunch of improvements to the house, and now they're seeking approval to be allowed to keep the house a house and keep the back commercial buildings commercial. So basically status quo as what was always there. It's just going to legally formalize it into the future. Now the code in conditional use grant areas for B2, it actually references having this on a commercial property having a residential use in the same building as a business. So this is a little bit different. It's having a commercial house on the same property as a business. So it's a little bit different than the code wording, but it's one of those examples of the most appropriate fit for what's asked for. And given the idea that this was something that was always there, this seemed like the most appropriate route to allow this if it does get approved into the future.
Thank you, Adam. With that, is there anyone here this evening that wishes to speak regarding this public hearing?
Way on the east side of town, there's a little strip mall.
The public hearing? You can come up to the microphone.
Yeah, I'm just looking at that.
This would be on the conditional use grant.
This is the conditional use, not on agenda. I just want to make sure. I know it's confusing. We apologize. Is there anyone else?
What do you do? It's
Nope. Okay. With that, I will be closing the public hearing. Consent business.
Resolution PC 066, 2019, approval of a second accessory structure at W2137764 Ann's Way. Resolution PC 069, 2019, approval of a two-lot certified survey map at W196 S7307 Hillendale Drive. And Resolution PC 072, 2019, approval of a two-lot certified survey map located at W186 S6850 Jewel Crest and W187 S6866 Jewel Crest Drive.
Move to approve, engross.
Second.
You want to move your microphone, Jerry, closer to you, by the way? Any discussion on that? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The consent business is approved unanimously. New business for consideration. We have Resolution PC 67, 2019. Recommendation to council to rezone a property from B3 General Business to a Planned Development District and amend the 2020 Comprehensive Plan. Approval of a certified survey map and condominium plat for the Home Path Financial located on Janesville Road in Test Corners area.
Move to approve.
Second?
Thank you. Adam, you want to
Sure.
present anything?
Yeah, okay. So we'll put up the site plan in a second here. There was some comments at the public hearing and just conversation after the meeting relating to what our architecture might look like. So the developer did bring in a board that's over on the side here, showing the prospective architecture drawings. I want to make it clear that this approval or this review tonight, even though it has one more step for the rezoning, is not reviewing the architecture. The applicant brought that in just to give an idea of what they were looking at. So I just wanted to make that clear. That was something that was talked about last time. So in general, this project is being presented. The applicant is Home Path Financial, and they're requesting to change zoning, comp plan, and then get approval for some certified survey maps and condominium plat. The current zoning on the site sits today as B3 General Business in the front of the property and RS3 on the back portion of the property. They are looking at rezoning the property to a planned development district. This would actually be a planned development that was previously identified as PD 48, which was formerly known as the Ingold Planned Development. That was the former owners. There wasn't a rezoning approved back in 2015, and a rezoning and land use amendment that was going to allow a total of 8 duplex two-family buildings with a total of 16 units. This proposal is similar to that proposal. The main difference with this proposal is it does add one more building, which is 2 more units. So the proposal that's in front of you is for a total of 18 units within 9 buildings. They are proposing them as a side-by-side style condo, and you'll kind of see that on the site plan in the rendering. Regarding that previous approval, that was back in 2015, and at that time, like I said, that rezoning was approved, contingent upon them getting their site plan approval and architecture approval, which was never proceeded with. That's why there's a new request in front of you today. As far as the land use amendment they're asking for, the current property is identified entirely as commercial in the future land use plan. The amendment that's being proposed by the applicant is requesting to change the land use plan to medium density residential for the 2-family homes on the bulk of the property, and there's one small commercial outlot that's adjacent to some existing businesses. That small commercial outlot would have a commercial zoning since it's adjacent to the businesses. So this medium density residential that's proposed is what exists in the general neighborhood as far as the density. That allows up to 2.99 units per acre, and this proposal is within that allowance. As far as, like I said, the past approvals go, the difference was one building less before, 2 units less before. As part of the rezoning ordinance that would potentially be going to Common Council next week, there are conditions listed in that ordinance right now that state that the approval would be contingent upon getting their building site and operation plan, which is their site and architectural approval from the Plan Commission. So tonight is just a recommendation on the rezoning and land use amendment, and the Common Council makes the final decision potentially as soon as next Tuesday. As I mentioned, there is a small a certified survey map that's part of this approval also. The certified survey map just separates the condo lot, which is the bulk of the project, from the small business outlot that the applicant has been talking with adjacent business neighbors, like I mentioned, to possibly sell them that land or something, so that way they have proper access and parking. So that's the bulk of it. Oh, one thing I'll mention. So we had the public hearing last Tuesday. There were 2 residents that spoke. The first resident brought up some concerns and questions. One thing that, some comments I noted, they were not in favor of any planned development district. They believe this property should remain in an RS3 zoning. They didn't think it was fair to shoehorn in this project in an existing RS3 area. They thought they should have large lots. They brought up concerns about development not controlling its own runoff. They thought that traffic should be not sent to Janesville Road, but rather Westwood. The other resident that spoke just had some comments about seeing the plans, which they were advised where they could see the plans. A couple relating to those items, as far as stormwater goes, preliminary stormwater plans have been sent to our engineering department for review. You'll see on the site plan that they are accommodating stormwater management as required to through DNR and MMSD requirements on the site. So their runoff will have to be handled to meet all MMSD and DNR requirements, and that's something our engineering department has started to review, will continue to review if this development goes forward.
Thank you, Adam.
Public comment?
Oh, yeah. Any public comment regarding this? Bring up your form for this. Thank you very much.
All right, Deb Bolton, West 186, South 7543 Kingston Drive. I am the one person who spoke at the public hearing, and I'm here to speak again. I am the one that's concerned about green space. It's the hill I've chosen to plant my flag and die on, apparently. And I don't have a problem with multifamily. What I want is I want this property to adhere to the same expectations as what it was originally zoned for, which is RS3. So if you've got 15,000 square feet per footprint, if you've got, 2/3 of it is green space, I'll walk away a happy camper. That's my major concern, is that let's have that green space, that same open space as what this was designed for. I had a nice conversation today with Adam, and I spoke about some of the debacles that have happened in Muskego, where things have been built, things have been approved, and then there's been flooding. Most recently, just back in September, the Heritage Senior Community. 18 cars destroyed, almost, they did have an electrical fire. That could have really been a disaster. And, and some of the information I got from Adam with regards to that was, well, that was a dumb design by the designer. We're not responsible if they put in something stupid and put their water management plan and base it on a pump that can break. It's true. You're not responsible if the developer is dumb. It's true. But you are responsible for allowing them to shoehorn in something that is nearly entirely pavement. That I've been to that Heritage Senior Living community. It's all building and blacktop. There's the biggest bit of open space in it is the water retention pond by Janesville Road. The rest is blacktop, sidewalk, and building. And you do have the power to prevent that kind of a footprint. That is one of your limited powers. You do not have to approve this zoning change just because it's asked for. It's one of the few powers you still hold, and I'm asking you to wield it. If they want to put it in condos, I'm okay. Put in condos, but put it in respecting the original zoning. The amount of open space that should be there, offsets, if the offsets are, if the smallest offset in a residential 3 is no closer than 10 feet to the property line, then don't put them 20 feet apart, closer than that. Then we're good, call it a day. And I think, based on what I've seen in your information packet, instead of 9 buildings, that takes it to 7. That's not asking for something crazy. So all I'm asking is, yes, I know there was a precedent set that you approved 8 once. Doesn't mean you have to approve 8 again, and you certainly don't have to approve 9. And in that time, things have changed. Since this area was zoned originally, things have changed. None of us expected, I don't think, Janesville Road to ever become as wide as it was. If the county had expected it would have become that wide, they would have bought the land in the first place. They wouldn't have had to buy it. The street I currently live on still has a road right-of-way for the road to be widened. The city owns it. My driveway goes across the city road. My old front yard was city road. Are they going to turn it into a city road? No. But the city bought it, the city developed it, the city owned it, just in case someday they'd want to. If the county had ever thought they were going to do that, they would have bought the land around Jonesville Road. Things have changed. We have to move with the times. We have to accept things are happening. Elementary school is not going to stay a big open field. That water's going to go somewhere. And, oh yeah, I seem to recall that those retention ponds over there, they flooded once too, back by those condos. So stormwater retention ponds ain't all they're cracked up to be. All you got to do is not have a very good landscaping plan, which is in the hands of the developer, and all your stormwater runoff doesn't go to your retention pond. Again, Heritage, lovely retention pond. Water couldn't get to it. It found the easiest, shortest way. So use the power that you have. Just because a developer is asking doesn't mean you have to say yes. You can hold them to the expectations of what this was zoned for. Just all I'm asking is the restrictions of RS3. And I said, I'm willing to waive the single-family home bit. I just want the footprint and the offsets. That's all I want. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Hi, I'm Alan Stoller. I live at West 173, South 7715 Westwood Drive. And my house is the corner lot. I don't directly abut that property, but I'm close enough to it. My parents have owned that house. They bought it in 1988. I've owned it since 2004. My kids have played in that area back there, and it's awesome because it's open. I know it seems you guys, the plan is working because I see less and less of my neighbors here. Because when we started, what did we have? Like the whole row down the back side, everybody was here to be here. But tonight we got up, I think 6, 7. It's working, so every time you bring this up, it's just pushing us out. But I just think, let's keep that space open for the kids and stuff, maybe have a park or something. I mean, what I hate to see is this turn into, because it's so close to my residence. Have you guys driven down Cornell Circle lately? Or Fenimore Lane?
This is your comment time.
It is. So I'm just asking, can I ask a question?
And then we'll answer when we go in our discussion period.
Oh, pardon me?
Am I right? Or you want to,
Yeah,
when we get to the discussion?
One first is that, what changed since that land couldn't be used before? And I know the DNR was involved with it. That was my question. What's changed since the last time we talked about this, where the Jewel builders didn't build? And then I did hear a comment, somebody said that they wanted to have the exit go out to Westwood Drive. I live on Westwood Drive. If you ever come there on a Sunday, say 5 to 9, it's like NASCAR on Sunday, because people are going to church. You don't need another road going to Westwood. I don't know, I thought that was a comment I heard, that you might want to put that outlet on Westwood. I believe. I just got to say, let's keep it open, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. What do you?
You can turn it up here, please. Okay. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on this agenda item?
Good evening. Robert Bleasy, South 77 West 17458 St. Leonard's Drive. I live right in the middle, my wife and I, of St. Leonard's, directly to the, behind the, and that would be the westernmost unit. Basically, one of my concerns is these retaining walls that you can see in the upper right-hand corner. What is the purpose of those? In a meeting that we had with the developer months ago, they said those are supposed to protect your property because we get a lot of runoff coming down that hill into our yards. My neighbor to the north there had to have her whole yard dug out, about 4 feet deep, have all this rock put in and then covered over as a dry well, because there's so much water comes down that hill into our yards. The retention ponds, that used to be designated as a wetland. I don't know what they've got it now, but that drains across St. Leonard's into the creek. There's always water in there. My one neighbor to the south of there, he has pictures from years ago, or over many years, of standing water in that area already. That's the severity of the runoff that we get coming down that hill. I'm wondering about those walls. Who are they protecting? You know, those walls, looks to me like they're there to protect those condominiums, because they're not going to protect us. They're going to divert that water right into our yards coming down that hill. As Al said and as Debbie said, this has always been B3. My wife and I have lived there for over 20 years. It's always been B3. That whole neighborhood is B3, all single-family homes. And that's the way we would like to keep it, strictly single-family homes. Nice neighborhood, beautiful neighborhood. And we just don't like this overdevelopment. It's just too tight, too small. Traffic's going to be a problem. I was told, talking to Tom, who I don't see here tonight, now they're going to tear down the elementary school and put up some low-income elderly housing, and then he said behind that, they're going to put in some apartment complexes. So there's going to be massive traffic coming out onto Janesville. This is just going to add to it. I just don't see the point. B3 would be perfect. That's what it's always meant to be, and that's what we would like to see it remain. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Up here. You want to bring it up here? It's okay. Thank you.
I'm Darlene Bleasy, South 77, West 17458, St. Leonard's Drive. And I just want to say I'm against the rezoning, and it's for all the reasons we've been saying for the last 4 years.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else?
Good afternoon, evening. My name is Casey Fisher. I live at S77W17436 St. Leonard's Drive. I am right next to Bob and Darlene. I am on the top right house. I agree. I'm also opposed to this plan. I would like to see this be a single-family home, as all the other homes around it are. They would match up well. We moved from Bayview. We're in our mid-20s. A lot of people our age are getting sick and tired of living, near, condos and in apartments, and we want to move out into the neighborhoods in single-family houses. This was the reason why we chose Muskego, and I hate to see Muskego do the same thing that other neighborhoods are doing. So, but with that, along with what Bob was talking about with that retaining wall, we have lots of water, standing water in the back of our property. Well, the one side of our property already has a dry well. I'm very scared that the other side of my property is going to need one. It's already starting to collect puddles. And that retaining wall, it does not really do a very good job on looking like it's going to dispose the water where it needs to be. So that's one of my concerns if it goes to this plan. So that's all I wanted to say. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else?
Hello, Brittany Fisher, S77 West 17436 St. Leonard's Drive. I am the house with my husband. We have already a ton of issues back there in our backyard with flooding. It is ridiculous. We have so much standing water back there. Like you said, we moved from Bayview. There's so much development in Bayview, and it is pushing everyone away. And now we moved out here to get it kind of away from that and have that beautiful area back there. And now you're going to push us away just like Bayview did. We're in the middle of trying to have a family. That would be a beautiful area for kids to play, and unfortunately you're using it for condos, and the condos are going up everywhere, and eventually you're going to keep building these, and there's not going to be enough people to fill these. You haven't already filled the ones that you've been building, so why are you continuing to build more? I think it'd be great for single family housing, and you just kind of need to slow your roll on the housing. That's it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anyone else? If you, we'll give you a few minutes to fill out the form.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know what the numbers are. Yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I touched something, I lost this screen, you know how to get back to it. Because I went back here. Oh, there we go. Oh, there we go. Okay, thanks.
Okay, if you wish to speak regarding this agenda item, this is the agenda item regarding the development that you see right there on the posters on Janesville Road and Westwood roughly. Okay, if you want to, then bring your form up and you can go up to the microphone. So make sure you got the right agenda item. Thank you. And you can wait right behind him then. Right here at the microphone. Just. Okay. I'm not going to force, I'm not deciding who goes first.
I wasn't planning on going first because I wanted to hear, I missed the last meeting, so, but I'd like to talk.
Go ahead.
Over there.
Go to the microphone, just state your name and address and speak.
I'm not sure what my question is, other than I know we're talking about rezoning. I live on St. Leonard's Drive, and I back up to what's there and what's going on. And I just want to make sure what's going on fits with what our concerns with and things like that. I missed the last meeting. At the last meeting, was that the one that I could have spoken before a vote, and tonight is the vote, or regarding the rezoning?
Tonight's the recommendation for rezoning that the common council will talk about next week. But yeah, if you have comments, this is time to make them.
So as far as what's going on tonight there's going to be a vote by everybody here as to whether or not it's going to be rezoned.
As recommending to only the council can vote on the rezoning.
This is a recommendation to that board next
Correct.
week who makes the final
Correct.
call.
Okay. Can I reserve my right to come back up and talk again once other people have talked? Or do I get
They're
is it
done.
a one-shot deal?
They're done.
What's that?
They've already spoken.
Oh, everybody's spoken?
Yeah.
I'm late, I know.
You are.
Okay. So I missed that. I missed the meeting. I'm not very well informed here. I'm not doing too good. Yeah, my only concern is to make sure it kind of blends in with what's going on in our neighborhood. Our neighborhood has always been a single-family type thing, but I think there's an eventuality that's going on with this piece of property, that eventually it is going to be sold, and I don't know if there's a developer that's willing to step up, that's willing to put in single families and kind of complement our neighborhood. With the multi-living, I've always been concerned of multi-living that is going to, attract a lower income or something that's going to devaluate our properties. As long as what's going in is going to not take away from the value of our properties, and be put in such a way that it, accents and is, it's better for the whole community and is also better for our neighborhood, I don't have a problem with that. This proposal so far is the best one that I've heard, but I don't think we can hold out for just a extension of a neighborhood with single family. So, so far, this one's the best. I'd like it to stay undeveloped. That's not reality. Something's going to be going in there. The only other concerns I have is, the changing, if all the trees go down that have grown up, if the flooding that goes on back there somehow gets deviated into our neighborhood, because especially this year, you can go back there right now and you need, muck boots to walk through it. And I'm not sure if that has been addressed properly, but that is also a concern that I have. So, doesn't seem like I have a point to what I'm saying. I'm just rambling. So those are my concerns.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And you wanted to come up?
Hi, my name is Gary Kierzak, and I live on St. Leonard's Drive right next door to Jack, who just spoke. And I moved to Muskego in 1976, and the Ingle property behind my house, for many years, as I understand it, was zoned as floodplain. And somewhere along the line, that got changed. And I don't know why. I never really found out the good reason why. But I know this, since living there since '76, there were many occasions where a lot of that land was flooded, right up to my lot line. And I just want to make sure that if this is developed, it's done correctly. The way it looks to me, if you look at the photo that's up there on the screen, it looks to me like there's a lot of building jammed into a small space. And, the homes look good, but I don't see a lot of surrounding property around there that would allow for some drainage. And that would be my main concern. If it was up to me, I'd like to see it develop kind of like the route that Kristen Down went. If you look at those properties, there's a lot of space around them. But to me, it's trying to probably jam the most amount of living space to make the largest amount of profit. And I don't think that's good for our community. So that's my opinion. I don't have anything against development back there, but I just want to see it done correctly. That's all I got.
Thank you. And you wanted to come up, sir?
Hello, my name is Pablo Brandenburg. I just recently moved into W173 Sierra 7691, right next to the wall that you guys are planning on building. So as the gentleman right before me just said, I'm really concerned on the water drainage in there and how you guys are just trying to pack everything, or the contractor's trying to pack everything, so many units in that little property. It really does not make sense for the community around. It will really cause a lot of problems in the future and possible lawsuits for the community. So it's not a win situation for anybody right here, except for the contractors. All right, so I just want to say I'm really concerned and against this, and I would like you guys to go more better analysis on that area, on the drainage of the water situation, before you actually make a decision. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. You want to bring that up here? Thanks, we appreciate it. Is there anyone else? Okay, with that, now we will have our discussion. And actually, Adam, do you want to respond to any of those things? First and foremost, if you don't mind, I want to jump in. We all understand the drainage issues and the water issues that do exist. And what you see in front of you is not a final by any means, as Adam said earlier, for those of you who came late. This has been submitted to the engineering, and it has to meet MMSD and DNR requirements for stormwater. So all of that will be addressed. Actually, leaves it better than it is and should help everyone. But then there was more. I'll turn over to Adam.
Yeah, and a couple things, some things are more addressable than others. Someone commented about, what changed from before, why the previous developer didn't move forward. A lot of it was the Ingold family. The Ingold family had a personal tie to this home and this property. And when both of the members of the family were home, that was hard for them to just move out of the home. None of the other plans could physically work with keeping that existing home there. Unfortunately, once Ray passed and Marge moved out of the home, that made the development feasible. The previous developers wanted to develop it. It was just a matter of how do you develop it with keeping this thing home there. And if, you can't force an owner out of their house. Until they were willing to actually vacate the home, there was really no way to make it physically work from a layout standpoint. So that was the only reasons that we were ever brought up to why it didn't go forward. We talked to many developers, some that came forward, some that didn't. But this was the first development since the Ingold family actually chose to willingly move out of the home. As far as some comments about a driveway in Westwood, this proposal definitely does not include a driveway to Westwood. There was an old, I think, talk of that way back in one of the earlier plans. We are supposed to direct traffic to busier roads, so we would intentionally not want traffic on Westwood. We'd want it on Janesville, and this is where they're going with it. They are working with the county because the county has all access jurisdiction on a county highway, so any access has to meet all of the county standards for access, and they've been working with the county on that to try to get preliminary stuff figured out. There was some comment about ponds used to be wetlands. During the approval, that conversation in 2015, there was comments about wetlands on the property potentially. I don't know if it was this group or I think it was the owners at the time or somebody hired a DNR certified wetland company, so a private third-party company who's certified by the DNR to determine where wetlands are and aren't. There are no wetlands per this person who's certified by the DNR to make that call. There may be low areas. Low area doesn't make it a wetland. There may be drainage issues. That doesn't make it a wetland. Those are things that can be looked at as part of a grading plan review, but there are no legal wetlands on there, and we have the certification that proves that. As far as someone commented on it being previously mapped as floodplain is only adjacent to navigable waterways and lakes. There's none of those features even close. I mean, in all the maps I've ever seen, and we have the earliest floodplain maps we have are from the 80s, don't show any kind of floodplain here. Like I said, maybe it was still a low area that held water at times, but that doesn't make it a wetland, and issues like that should hopefully be fixed as part of this, because that's something that our engineering department will look at from the stormwater management side of it. Is if they know there's existing problems, it's good for us to know that, so that way when the engineering staff, and that's not my area of expertise, that's a whole separate group of people, that's all they do, and that's what they got trained for, we'll be looking at stormwater management and try to, stormwater management should, I say should because you're planning it, should leave the water leaving the site at a slower and cleaner rate than it did before. And if anyone does want to see the preliminary grading plans, they're welcome to talk with their engineering staff during any kind of business hours, or they can, I'm sure, email them to you outside business hours. So I think those were the main comments that were specifically addressable.
Yeah, the retaining wall and trees that come down, and landscaping is all at a later time, and that can all be addressed during later time. And the retaining walls is none of that's final. That's all part of the stormwater engineering plan, so.
Yeah, that will have its separate day.
Right.
Down the road.
So with that, is there any discussion from the commissioners? Okay.
So not being at the last plan commission, so looking at this, so we've got B3. I'm just trying to think, where else do we do this? Where we would actually, and I get the idea that this probably, someone may think that this is the best fit, but there are times that we didn't allow stuff like this way back. I mean, the Audemars, and that was a CUG, and we said no, because it did not match the existing zoning. And so, and I'm really not here to second guess what is the best development for that area, I guess. So and I have no doubt, Adam, your supplement is awesome. They always are, and I have no doubt that if this goes through and the council decides to rezone it, that you'll ensure all of that is met, absolutely. But I look back and I'm just trying to understand, I think even if you put single-family housing in there, I don't know if it's even workable to do that. But again, that's not my call. And I'm looking at the B3 in front, abuts Janesville Road. That makes sense. So I don't know where else we actually, someone used the word shoehorn, but, there are many developments since I've been on the commission, absent 3 years, since 2003, that we've said no to stuff like this simply because it does not fit the existing zoning. Not that it can't, but we've said no in the past. And however, I still think even if you were to put single-family housing there, you're going to find the same issues with water, drainage, and you're going to have the same, maybe even less control over that than a development such as a PD. So I guess that's the comment on that. And then the aldermen are going to look at this and look at the amount of people that came. Having been an alderman, I would have a hard time saying yes. So I guess for me, absent any real reason other than just that someone thinks that's the only or the best way to do it because it sat there, I am not in favor of this.
I agree. I look at, I don't know when the property became available, the family moved out. Adam, when did that take place?
In the last year or so, I believe.
Oh, it's relatively recent. Okay.
Yeah, there were proposals when the family owned it. And there were proposals approved when they owned it. Just now they aren't in it, and it was sold.
Right, and there has been an approval very similar to this already on this property, so by this body and the council, so that's presents another layer of legal challenges. If there's got to be a pretty clear reason why now this does not work.
And unfortunately, I don't have to take on those challenges. So from my perspective, if you zoom out, which you don't have access to there, and you look at the greater area that goes well beyond St. Leonard's, you look at all those single-family homes, and I'm questioning why we would say this has got to be the use for that property. And I can't, again, I agree. I don't know that I have an alternative, but that's not my business either. But I look at the general area that spans blocks east and west, fairly south, other than St. Leonard's itself, and they're all single-family homes. And now we're going to say, no, we're going to shoehorn, and I'll use that word because it does appear to be that. We're going to shoehorn duplexes into that area, and because that's the first opportunity we've had that's real. Just because it's first doesn't make it right. So I can't agree either. I'll let the Common Council decide.
Well, a recommendation has to come from this body,
Right,
though,
understand.
no matter what.
Understand.
Is there other discussion?
There's a definite water issue in the area, and doing nothing doesn't resolve the water issue. And I'm not an engineer, this is just the guessing method of doing things, is if this were a single-family development, I figure roughly you can put in 11, 12 buildings in here.
I don't think you put that many.
Yeah,
This is only 9.
Well, I'm just looking at the lots that surround the area and just kind of pie shaping this a little bit. Is it economically feasible to do that? I don't know. That's a question the developer would have to answer. I don't like the idea that there's an additional building beyond what was approved last time. But it does resolve some issues. And the big issue is the water issue. And I took a run down there the other day, in fact, today, this morning, and down on St. Leonard's Drive, on a property that's south of St. Leonard's, there's tons of rock along a creek bed there, so I can see how much water comes off of that property. And doing nothing is not going to resolve that. This property's, it definitely has value. What's the highest and best use? We've had 2 developers come in now and said that condominiums seem to be the best use of that particular property. So, again, it solves some issues.
This has always been private property, correct? Okay. I've been living out in Muskego since 1981, and I've seen other apartment complexes, condominiums go up, and I think there are other, have been on the Plan Commission all that long, but I have seen other condominiums north of Janesville Road that abut all the residential property. All the apartments that went up on Pioneer Drive are all abutting residential property. So I don't see that this is that much different. I'm not saying I'm in favor of it, because I'm concerned if this was approved in prior commissions, that if it was 7 or 8 buildings, that would make more sense to me with the density. And I agree 100% with what everybody's saying, is that there's nobody had right to go use that land before, because it wasn't a park. You know, if somebody was, encroaching on that property and using it as a play field, and it was wetlands, I think some of these will be resolved because of the fact that the drainage will be done through the engineering department. It's going to solve a lot of the problems that you potentially have presently. But the density is an issue because it's changed, and it's something different than what you've been living with and why you moved out from different communities into this area. These are all great points brought up on both sides, but the way this stands right now, I would be against the nine buildings, but I think there's a way to get to the end result that we're trying to get accomplished.
I'd like to add, the building was added when 1 was taken down. Actually, 2 were taken down, a garage too. So I just want to make that clear. So it's kind of in place. Anyone else?
My question was going to be, I know that Ingalls' house came down.
Is yours on?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I know the Ingalls' house came down, and now they've added an additional unit, but in your commentary, Adam, didn't you say that they were thinking of dividing that and selling a portion of that off for business?
In the current proposal or the previous? Which one are you talking
In the
about?
current,
The current proposal,
this, right?
this, Aaron, you want to go like the CSM drawing maybe? So on this drawing here, so everything you see listed as Lot 1, maybe Aaron, show where it's listed as Lot 1.
Okay.
Everything, the big bulk of the land, like where the north arrow is and the scale and the wording, that's the condo lot. This little, there where the cursor is right now, that's the little remnant area. It's kind of useless for them per se. That area right now is used for parking and access for the businesses next door. So those business owners approach the developer to say, hey, can we work something out so we don't lose our access point? And we can continue to keep our parking. So that little thing that's listed as Lot 2, the tentative plan from what we have heard between the adjacent business owner and the current applicant is that they would sell that to them for parking and access.
Okay.
That would be the only commercial part of this.
My opinion would be it still looks too crunched together, so maybe if we could do one less building.
May I jump in?
Sure.
Could you go back to the previous page, which was, I think, 9 of 13? So on this document, I note that it says 5.257 acres. Is that accurate? I see other documents that said 6 point something, but that looked to be possibly the entire development, maybe including the road?
Yeah, plan developments, the code very specifically allows plan development densities when a new road is proposed, not existing, to use the whole project as your density calculation. That's actually specifically in the ordinance. So the commercial lot, the undeveloped roadway, and the condo lot, for plan development purposes, can all be used to determine density.
Okay.
And that's been done on other projects in the city.
Okay.
If it wasn't a planned development, or if the road already existed, then that wouldn't be the same.
Yeah, okay. So, but still just doing the math on, I'm gonna stay with the 5.257, and if I did the math on that at 2.99, we'd end up at 5.71 units. And I understand what you're saying in regard to that, but the reason why it does look crunched is because we've added so much pavement, a road, and we've taken Lot 2 out, and, so we have to keep all that in mind when we look at these. Currently, this is zoned as business, so technically, really, you could have a retail establishment come into this lot.
Only the frontage is currently business.
Okay.
If you look at the aerial photography drawing, there's like an orange line drawn, so I don't know, it was a certain like setback roughly from Janesville Road. That's the part that was zoned business.
Okay,
And the back of it was
back part
RS3.
is RS3?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because reading the write-up, I saw that it was just documented as business, so.
It could also not be,
Gotcha. Thank
be ranch style, which would mean it would stack and open more green space.
Okay.
I'm not sure people like that, but that's an option.
So having been on the board in the previous submissions that came in, and yes, we approved a 16 unit for the density before. I still would support that. I think that you're going to have a development that comes in that's going to be somewhere along that line on this. So that's, I guess, where I would still stand is we approve that, this development with one less building would put you at 16, and I could see that, but I couldn't support adding a whole other building and increasing the density from where we were. So that's my take.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Well, just one comment. I think we're going to need a real compelling reason not to approve this, because it was approved essentially the way it is, except for one building in the past. So again, my recommendation is to eliminate one building.
Is that an amendment you want to make?
I'll propose it as an amendment, yes.
Is there a second to the amendment?
Can you repeat your amendment?
To reduce the units to 16.
16 instead of, yeah.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on the amendment? All those in favor of the amendment? Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Did you get that? And who? And who was the other one? Chris? Okay. All right. Any other discussion as amended? All those in favor of the resolution as amended? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Same. So the resolution is approved as a recommendation of council with 16 units. Thank you. We will now move to Resolution PC 068, 2019, approval of a certified survey map near St. Leonard Drive. I think we just did this.
No,
I'm sorry.
This is just it goes along with the last one,
I got
that
it.
if the rezoning gets approved, the CSM would be needed too.
Okay, the CSM near St. Leonard Drive for Home Path Financial on Janesville Road.
Now, one thing I'll say, this has nothing to do with density. This land is nothing to do with their density calculation. It was strictly an area that water main maybe needed to go through. Okay.
Yeah.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is approved. Resolution PC 70, 2019, approval of a conditional use grant for Bill and Jennifer Balcerzak, located on Janesville Road.
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Adam.
This was the item that we had that first public hearing on, where it's allowing the residents to stay on the business property as it has for many, many, many years. The house would still be used as a house potentially. It would even give the opportunity, the way the house is set up, for there to be like a little home office in the house, along with the back building staying commercial as they've been previously used.
Thank you. We need a motion for that, actually. I don't think we, did we? I don't think we got a motion. I think
Yeah, no, we did. Yeah, it was Kubaki and Buckmaster.
We do? Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? It is approved. Now we have Resolution 71, PC 71, 2019, approval of building site and operation plan amendment for Eagle Park Brewing Company, Commerce Center Parkway.
Move to approve.
Second.
Adam,
Thank
this is long
you.
awaited.
Yeah. So this is a real simple thing, but I thought it was important enough that we should bring it back just to make sure we're covering our bases. So as you remember, Eagle Park, well, at the time we didn't know the name, was approved to go in the Interstate Partners Building, which is kind of on the side of Walmart next to Ace Hardware over in the Moreland Corridor area. They're building out the last tenant space in that building. They actually have their permits already to do construction. They're working on it as we speak. The plan that was in front of Plan Commission originally showed 2 silos in the back of the property, which were approved. One silo was for new grain to produce beer. The other silo was for the spent grain that's left over after the brewing process. The original, first relating to the new grain silo, they're not at the volume where they're going to need that for a while, so they're able to keep that grain inside. So that's not going to be needed at this point. That's not a real big discussion. The other part is the spent grain. So spent grain that's used after the brewing process is done is very, very commonly across the brewing industry sold or given to farmers as it's really rich in nutrients and they use it for feed. They originally didn't have a farmer that would take small quantities on a very often basis. So their idea was to have the silo, put all the waste grain in there, and it would have to accumulate for maybe a month or two, and then they would have a vendor pick it up in a large quantity. When it sits for long periods of time, we've been told it can ferment and start to have a little bit of a smell, so that's why they had a closed silo. What they have now worked out an agreement with a local vendor that would allow, that would pick it up every 2 to 3 days and be using it on a farm on Moreland Road near Moreland in College. And because of that, they want to have a closed trailer that will be parked in the truck dock. The spent grain will go into this covered trailer. It will be picked up every 2 to 3 days and taken to the farm. Because of the short amount of time it's sitting there, and because of the proximity of the homes that are around it, the brewery definitely does not believe that there should be any kind of smell issues from their experience, and they use their current breweries and experience because they currently have a spent grain bin that's 10 feet from a home in their neighborhood on the east side, and they've talked with that neighbor, and the neighbor's never smelt a thing. It only gets smelly when it sits for long periods of time, and because it's a small volume, a local farmer's using it, it'll be constantly turned over, hence no need for the big silo. Just because it dealt with smell, we thought it should definitely come in front of the Plan Commission. The resolution is written that if it ever become problematic, that it can be brought back. We don't expect it to be a problem, but we just wanted to make sure you guys were aware of it rather than deal with the problem after the fact.
Thank you, Adam. Are there any questions for Adam? I think you covered it well. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Any miscellaneous business, Adam?
No, I guess happy holidays, last meeting for the year here, right?
Yes.
And update for the Plan Commission members, we don't typically ever have a January meeting, so you'll get a little break, and then we'll probably a big agenda on February, I'm guessing.
So that's a warning. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays to everyone.
Yep.